Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves Podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 86th Gooners and Gloves Podcast, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and predictions for the Deontay Wilder vs Tyrell Herndon fight. This is taking place tonight, June 27th, and is Deontay Wilder's return to the ring. Of course, he's had a bit of a rough go over the last couple of years with 4 losses in his last 5, including 2 losses to Tyson Fury, also losses to dazn and Joseph Parker. So, of course, a make or break fight for him tonight, an extremely important fight. It may not be like against the biggest name or like the most like stellar opponent, but he simply has to win this fight. Like, you really would imagine that if he doesn't win the fight tonight, it's over for him. Surely he'll retire at that point. He's 39 years old. This is obviously a bit more of like a journeyman type opponent, a bit of just considered to just be a bit of a tune-up fight, kind of get the ball rolling, get the fights on, etc. So you really would imagine that this is a massive fight for him. He has to win. Like, this is make or break for him. Either he wins tonight and carries on, and potentially, you never know, maybe sets up the Anthony Joshua fight or a sort of, a big fight like that, or alternatively officially retires. So very big fight for Deontay Wilder, very important for him. Obviously a really cool opportunity for Tyrell Herndon as well, getting to, of course, fight Deontay Wilder, who's a huge name, and getting to fight, one of the hardest hitting heavyweights of all time. And, it's a really cool opportunity for Tyrell Herndon as well. So yeah, very big fight, a very, very important fight for Deontay Wilder. So I thought I'd go on and just make a video on it. The fight is, only about 5 to 6 hours away, so I'm just getting this out for you guys real quick. But yeah, it should be interesting. Obviously, we don't know what Deontay Wilder will look like. He's been out for about a year now, so obviously, and not to mention he is 39 years old, but Tyrell Herndon isn't particularly young either. He's 37, so neither of them are very young. So yeah, in terms of Wilder's record, as it currently sits at 43-4-1 with 42 KOs. Obviously, that KO percentage is always mind-boggling to read. So yeah, 43 wins, 4 losses, and a draw. Obviously, as mentioned before, those have come across 3 opponents: Tyson Fury, dazn, and Joseph Parker. And then you got Herndon's record, which is 24-5 with 15 KOs. Obviously, as you'd imagine, Herndon's record hasn't got as many stellar names on it or anything like that. As I said before, Herndon could be considered what just kind of is considered a bit of like a journeyman fighter. No disrespect, that isn't in any way a disrespectful thing. End of the day, journeymen, are part of the sport. There's nothing wrong with it. So that's what Tyrell Herndon is considered, just a bit more of like a journeyman fighter. Obviously, doesn't have a very stellar record in terms of the names on it. Obviously, a lot of the, opponents on his record have few fights or maybe even, losing records. But that being said, he has managed to put together a respectable 24-5 record with 15 KOs. However, that being said, 4 of those 5 losses have been by KO TKO. So that could be something that could be quite significant in this fight when we get into it. So pretty much, I don't want to ramble too much. This probably won't be too long of a video, but my prediction is Deontay Wilder by KO TKO, also just known as stoppage. Basically, I think he will win within the 10 rounds. So this is a 10-round fight, and I think he'll win before the 10-round distance by either knockout or technical knockout. However, that being said, I think it's going to be a late knockout, probably in between like round 7 to 10. I don't think it'll be an early one for a couple of reasons. First of all, Tyrell Herndon obviously is the journeyman, and as we know with journeymen, they are tough. They know how to, survive fights. They know how to basically get through rounds. Definitely a lot of people, there's this common misconception that journeymen just go down easily and always lose immediately, but that isn't actually true. Journeymen, they're tough, they're rigid, they know how to get through a fight, they have good defense, because at the end of the day, that's the whole point. Like with journeymen, they want to be in there, they want to, make the opponent look good, but also win some of their own rounds as well. Definitely, like, journeymen are still competitive, they still want to win rounds, and also, as we know with the commission, if you lose a certain amount of rounds in a row, you can be suspended for a while. So yeah, it's important for them. So that is just one misconception that a lot of people have. They always think that, like, journeymen, their only aim is to just go in there and, get smashed up. It's not true at all. Journeymen are still competitive. They can get through fights. And obviously, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Tyrell Herndon is like the traditional journeyman. You can see he hasn't got like an 0-100 record or anything, but just kind of fights like smaller level fighters, maybe not quite definitely not the sort of pedigree of resume that Deontay Wilder has. Deontay Wilder doesn't necessarily have the greatest resume, but certainly a lot better than Herndon's resume in terms of the opponents he's fought. So yeah, that's the first reason that I think he'll go quite late on into the fight, probably around 7 to 10, because Herndon, obviously, he has been knocked out a few times, don't get me wrong, but, he is a bit more of like a journeyman fighter, has, decent defense and can really take a fight into the distance. Although, as I mentioned before, he has been knocked out 4 times, so I still expect Deontay Wilder to get the knockout, but just, I think he'll probably come a bit later in the fight. Second of all, obviously Deontay Wilder is going to have some ring rust. As I mentioned before, he's not been in the ring for a year, and in terms of the past 5 years, he's only been in the ring 5 times, so an average of once a year. So obviously he's going to have that ring rust. So for that reason, firstly, I expect him to probably want to get a few rounds in. I'd imagine that Deontay Wilder himself will probably want to get a few rounds in and try and shake off the cobwebs. And also, it might take a bit for him to click into gear, for him to get the combinations working, to get the power obviously connecting. Like, I think it might take him a few rounds to kind of work his way in and really kind of find his feet again. And obviously, as I said before, when a fight has been out for a long time, they sometimes want to go those a few rounds and may not quite turn on the gas until later on the fight because they want to, get those rounds in and get the cobwebs shaken off. So those are kind of, those are some of the 2 key reasons why I think that while Deontay Wilder will get the knockout, and I do expect him to knock Herndon out / stop him, I don't think it will happen until about round 7 to 10. As mentioned before, Herndon, obviously, he can make fights long, he can make them durable. As I said before, journeyman type fighters, they know how to defend, they know how to be durable, and while he's had some knockout losses on his record, he certainly isn't someone who's just easier to knock out. And while I think Wilder will knock him out, I just don't think it will happen until a bit later in the fight. And also because, of course, I think Deontay Wilder is going to want to shake off those cobwebs and kind of work his way back in. That being said, though, obviously we know Deontay Wilder can be absolutely devastating with the combination punches. We know that he's someone who, when he comes forward, he can be absolutely terrifying. He can throw absolutely brutal combinations. He's, of course, got the most brutal right hand probably in the sport's history. Definitely, I think Deontay Wilder's right hand is arguably the hardest punch in the entire history of boxing in general. So we know that Deontay Wilder is capable of it, but of course the big question is, will he be able to do it at 39 years old? We saw that he struggled to get the combinations working against Zhilei Zhang and also Joseph Parker, but this could very well be a refreshed Deontay Wilder, someone who's obviously still trying to get another big fight, and it is still possible. He could always still get the Anthony Joshua fight. There's definitely fights out there on the horizon for him that could still happen. So it's going to be very interesting to see, can he have the devastating sort of pressure fighting that he did before. You think 5-10 years ago, he was absolutely knocking people out for fun. The pressure he was putting on them in those fights was absolutely devastating to watch. Just really, really brutal combinations and really just completely and utterly smothering them. And will Deontay Wilder be able to do that against Herndon? I certainly think so. But that being said, he is 39 years old. He's obviously going to be rusty in the ring. Does he have the same speed? Does he have the same power? If he does, then this could maybe even be a bit of an earlier stoppage. But I just think that because obviously of the cobwebs and the ring rust and Herndon's own general durability, I think for that reason Wilder will probably take some rounds to work his way in, and for that reason I don't think he'll be able to knock him out until a bit later in the fight. But I do expect him to knock him out because, as I mentioned before, Herndon has been knocked out a few times and obviously can sometimes, his chin can definitely be cracked, and of course we know if there's one man who can crack someone's chin, it's definitely Deontay Wilder. So yeah, going to be a very intriguing fight to see. Obviously, as I mentioned before, fair play to Tyrell Herndon, a really cool opportunity for him as well, and shout out to him for obviously getting himself in such a big fight. It's really cool to see, but it's going to be a very interesting fight. See how it goes. Deontay Wilder, will he start fast? Will he start slow? Herndon, of course, how will he respond? How will he respond to the power punches of Wilder? Will he come, will he fight fire with fire, or will he maybe look to be a bit more defensive, tire Wilder out, and then come forward as well? Going to be very, very interesting, but obviously I don't want to ramble on too much. But the key prediction here is that I think Deontay Wilder will get a late stoppage. I think due to a combination of kind of his general ring rust, the fact he's not been there for a while. Obviously, it might take him a bit of time to kind of shake off the cobwebs, shake off the stamina issues, and kind of really get the combinations working. And of course, Herndon himself, can be effective, in defense, certainly has a decent defense. Obviously is durable, can definitely take a punch. However, that being said, his chin has been cracked before. So it's just going to be very, very interesting, very intriguing sort of dynamic for a fight. Obviously you got Herndon, who, to be fair, if he was to win this fight, would be absolutely life-changing, and I mean, you can only imagine the sort of fights that would come for him. And of course for Deontay Wilder, this is an absolute make or break. He simply has to win this, or if he doesn't, then retirement is surely on the cards. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Let me know what you guys think about it. Who do you think will win? Do you think Herndon can pull off an upset, or do you expect Deontay Wilder to successfully complete his comeback fight? Me personally, I think by knockout or technical knockout late on in the fight between round 7 and 10, Deontay Wilder will get the victory, will add another knockout to his resume. But that being said, Herndon is durable and will make it a bit of a tough night's work. So all in all, should be fun, should hopefully be a bit competitive, and should just be a cool return to boxing for Deontay Wilder. And then should he get the job done, we can maybe look ahead to a potential massive fight against Anthony Joshua, which of course we all want. I doubt there'd be a fourth fight with Tyson Fury, but you never know. But I feel like that Anthony Joshua fight we all want so desperately. We all would still, I mean, in my opinion, anyway, let me know what you guys think. But personally, I'd still absolutely love to see Wilder and Joshua, definitely. I'd still love to see that fight. It's a fight that we've wanted for so long, and it really would suck if it can slip by the radar, and I can imagine that Deontay Wilder feels exactly the same, so we'll want to put on a statement tonight. But anyway, that's going to go ahead and do it for my prediction. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please let me know down below, who do you think will get this? Will Deontay Wilder complete his return to boxing? Will he retire? Will Tyrell Herndon pull off an absolute upset and go on to get a massive fight after this? Who knows? But all in all, should be interesting. But there we go. That's my final prediction. Deontay Wilder by knockout/technical knockout. So yeah, in between rounds 7 and 10. But anyway, that's going to go and do it for this podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great day. I really appreciate all the support recently. I'm really happy that things are starting to pick up on the channel, and I want to thank you all so much for that. So loads more videos to come, loads more content. So please join me on the journey. Please like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. And I'll catch you guys with another podcast soon. Bye bye.